Prime Minister Mark Carney has announced a slate of new measures to help and protect the steel and lumber industries.
With new strengthened measures to accelerate the transformation of the Canadian steel and lumber industries to build strong domestic demand for their products.
So among the new measures you heard there, limiting foreign steel imports, cutting freight rates, and implementing a Buy Canadian policy. The Liberal government says this move could open up more than $850 million in domestic demand for Canadian steel. Keenan Lunis is president and CEO of the Canadian Institute of Steel Construction. He joins us this morning. Welcome.
Good morning, Anne-Marie.
So you've had some time now to sit with the measures that were announced. How do you feel about what's coming?
Well, back in May, the Prime Minister announced an ongoing dialogue between industry and government. So we've had the opportunity to sit down with folks from the Ministry of Finance, folks from Public Service and Procurement Canada, and other relevant ministries in Ottawa to talk about how the current tariffs are impacting us and the measures that we would like to see the government implement to protect the domestic steel industry. And all of those measures that we have been discussing over the last number of months have now been put into policy by the Prime Minister's announcement yesterday. There's still details, of course, for us to sift through to make sure that everything that we've asked for is incorporated. But we certainly appreciate the protection of the domestic industry, keeping out foreign imports that have been unfairly traded so that there's been a lot of distortions in the market as a result of this cheap dumped steel coming in primarily from China, and to focus on domestic procurement. We can definitely be our own best customer, especially when we have so many plans to build in Canada, help us get through this very difficult time.
So, Kevin, let me ask you then, Kevin, can it match the market that you might be missing from the U.S.? Can we honestly replace that with domestic demand?
Well, it'll certainly help. I mean, one of the things that the producers will say is that we have about 30% market share, domestic market share in our own market, which is absolutely crazy. We should be doing a heck of a lot better than that, especially with taxpayer funded projects. So it will help. And we do have to, this transition might be long term. And really, we've been reoriented as a economy over the last 40 years of free trade, north and south. We really need to figure out how do we stitch together this country from east to west, and I think as well, making sure that the federal government covers the costs of shipping across the country. That will help our folks in the west be able to consume and use domestic steel.
That federal covering of the cost of shipping, is that one of those details that you want to still see put in place?
Well, yes, but again, that was a topic area that we have been discussing over the last number of months. We brought CN and CPKC to the table to discuss this. So all relevant parties have been consulted, and now it's being implemented. So good job on the government.
So you feel like the conversations that you have were heard and put in place. Then can you help us put into perspective how much of a shift is this for your industry, and what changes do these measures bring for the industry potentially long term?
Well, again, Canadians would be really surprised to hear that we only have 30% market share, domestic steel in our own market. So we can be doing a lot better. And the reorientation of the procurement policies, and we're not talking just Ottawa. The provinces are also looking to Ottawa. So the procurement policy that is right now being developed and should be shared, I think it was going to be revealed at the end of this week. That is a radical shift in how we do business here in Canada. And if the provinces adopt the same sort of methodologies, that will be an even bigger win for the domestic industry, because provinces buy even more steel than the federal government, and then you get to the municipalities as well. They're also looking for direction. They buy even more steel. So this is a big radical shift and something that should be permanent.
There's a timeline issue always with these new projects, of course, and policies as well. Again, this is all new for us, and we're learning as we go. But in the timeline between when the demand is there and when you can actually meet it, what happens in that in between while you're still dealing with these heavy U.S. tariffs?
Well, right now what we're seeing is, because of all the uncertainty in the market, a lot of people are not investing at this point in time. So there's not a lot of activity happening right now. So I think what will happen is this certainty, this direction coming from Ottawa will help unlock some of the private sector spending, and certainly the public sector spending as well. We're seeing a lot of these things being fast-tracked. We're excited about it, even if it's pipelines. You know, steel is in everything. So all of these announcements that have been made by the federal government have been really important. We support them. These are nation-building projects, and you know, we definitely agree. Let's build Canada strong, and there's nothing stronger than steel.
Oh, that is a great sentence to end this interview on. Keenan Loomis, President and CEO of Canadian Institute of Steel Construction. I feel like you thought about that for a long time. Thanks, Keenan.
I wouldn't be doing my job.
If you like that video, make sure to subscribe to the Your Morning YouTube feed, where you can find all kinds of new content posted every weekday morning.